Welcome to ECCB Connects. On this special episode, we sit with Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy N.J. Antoine, to discuss some of the ECCB's strategic achievements and its performance over the 2023-2024 financial year. Governor Antoine also examines the state of affairs in the region and looks ahead at how the ECCB will continue to work to advance the good of the people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Governor, thank you for joining us on another episode of ECCB Connects.
Thank you, Karina. Great to be back.
Now, in keeping with the bank's statutory requirements, the ECCB has published its annual report for the financial year 2023-2024, and this covered the period 1st April 2023 to 31st March 2024. And our annual report, of course, covers the annual financial statements as well as a review of the work that the bank undertook during that period. To start off our discussion, share with us your take on the state of affairs happening in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union.
Right, so Karina, thank you. I want to greet all of our citizens and residents across the Currency Union. And while, of course, we are here ostensibly to talk about the annual report, really and truly our thoughts, our prayers, our efforts are really focused on supporting our member countries recently impacted by Hurricane Beryl. And here I speak of Grenada, and in particular the Sicily of Carriacou, and I speak of St. Vincent and Grenadines, and in particular Union Island. Also significant impact on the mainland of St. Vincent. So I want to express our sympathy and strong solidarity with St. Vincent and Grenadines and Grenada on account of the death and devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl. Once again, we've been visited with a natural disaster. But we can take assurance in the fact that we are resilient, and with the help of Almighty God, our partners, and our very hard work, we shall rebuild. So I want to just say to the people of Grenada and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that the ECCB stands strongly and fully with you, and we in fact will support you as we go through this together. We are recognizing, of course, that there are two typical phases after an event like this. One is the immediate relief, the humanitarian side, and then there is the reconstruction. The ECCB is going to send $1 million, a grant of $1 million each to Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines to support them in this initial phase of relief. We also recognize that there are persons who lost their livelihoods. There are farmers, fishers, other households, businesses that have been wiped out or significantly compromised as a result of the passage of Beryl. And here, these customers will work with their banks and their banks with them to ascertain whether and to what extent the support that is required and whether and to what extent they will be able to resume their obligations at an appropriate time. So the banks, of course, will work with customers on a case-by-case basis as they know how to do. And again, the key really is just communication and collaboration in this period. We're going to get through this together. We're resilient, we're strong. It hurts, it pains me. I mean, it's a very difficult time, but we have no choice but to get up and rebuild. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I just want to start with that word of comfort and support to the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines and Grenada.
Indeed, our thoughts and prayers are with our brothers and sisters in the region. And as Governor, as you said, we are, in a very fickle time dealing with a lot of the effects of climate change. We are contending with geopolitical issues, the effects of the wars happening in the Middle East, Ukraine and Russia. How do we push forward as a region? You've called on us to embrace the big push. How do we push forward?
Well, the big push, Karina, involves building resilience because, as I say all the time, the shocks keep coming. Whether they are geopolitical, as the war in Ukraine and the evidence we saw with that, whether it was the pandemic just before that, inflation recently, natural disasters. The shocks keep coming. And so our job is to build resilience to give us a better chance to weather those shocks. If I could speak for a moment in the context of Grenada, where obviously I served for a long time as financial secretary. While Grenada did not, the mainland, get a direct hit, escaped a direct hit, there were impacts. But what is also true is that Grenada weathered that storm better than it would have done 20 years ago when Hurricane Ivan passed. Grenada built back better. And as a result of that, houses stood up much better on the mainland of Grenada than they did 20 years ago. And I say 20 years ago because September this year is the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Ivan.
Yes, we remember.
We all remember that. And so my message would be for Carriacou, for Union, and for St. Vincent that as we rebuild, we will build back better. We must, because the key challenge here is to build resilience so that we, and I always say, resilience is about not simply absorbing or withstanding shocks, but bouncing forward, not back, forward. When you build back better, you bounce forward because you're not going back to where you were. You get into a higher and better place. And that is the challenge before us across all of our economies. So in the economic realm, it is to diversify the economy so we are less susceptible to these external events. But in terms of our built environment, our infrastructure, our household, our housing stock, that resilience is key because the shocks keep coming. Climate is real. This is early July. I mean, the season has just started. And here is what we have. Who knows what else is going to come in what is projected to be a hyperactive season. So we, of course, must pray and hope for the best, but we have to plan. And we have to always, in our planning and in our execution, think resilience. And that could be not just in the physical sense, it could be in the financial sense, but I will also argue in the spiritual and psychological, psychosocial sense. Because these disasters create trauma. And it's very important to keep hope alive. And when this needs to be processed, and there needs to be a way for people to breathe again and to begin to feel the sense of, I can do this. With help, I can actually get up and rebuild. Because right now, people would be very discouraged and disheartened. That's the initial impact. And that's where the social, the psychosocial counseling, that's where the spiritual support is so important. Because we have to get to the point where we embrace the reality, not as we would like, but as it is, and then say, okay, but we're going to do this. And then look around and see what has happened before, how we've done it before. Because we draw on that as well. We leverage the history. Oh, we did it, we're resilient. And we purpose, as I said, to bounce forward. So that is a challenge for us in the region, building resilience to these shocks.
Now, as you outlined, resilience is key. And as a bank, the ECCB works around its strategic plans, its objectives to ultimately improve the lives of the people of the region. Now, as we look back at the year gone, if you would share with us some of the key initiatives highlighted, and I'll go through the strategic pillars that are outlined in our strategic plan. We have financial stability, payment modernization and financial inclusion, environmental, social, and corporate governance, digital transformation, organizational effectiveness, and development. Let's look at financial stability, which is one of the key pillars on which we stand. What has the bank done over the past year in that area?
We have continued to do our job of supervising our banks very closely, and that is fundamental to financial stability. Our job is to keep a close eye on the banks and to work with them and to support them in ensuring that they are able to meet their obligations under the Banking Act. Get our teams out into the field, do these on-site inspections. They're very important. So we do off-site and on-site. So we've done that. It's something in the background that people don't see, but it's actually very important for financial stability. If you think about it, we cannot have economic growth and long-term prosperity without financial stability. So that's a very important part of the work that we do. We have also moved forward with work on the credit bureau. It's very important because credit risk is, in fact, a big issue in our region. Non-performing loans are uncomfortably high. And one of the ways that we believe we can mitigate that risk is to introduce the credit bureau. But we also know a credit bureau also helps with expanding credit. You want to grow these economies, we want to do the big push, which is double the size of these economies, you're going to need credit for all sectors. And one of the ways to improve the credit, allocation of credit to our sectors is in fact to have a credit bureau. Everywhere a credit bureau has been established, credit has increased. That's a fact. We want to be able to see the same happen in the currency union. So we worked on that. And we're very pleased that the legislation is now passed in all our member countries. And we're beginning to see banks sign on, and credit unions have also begun to sign on. It's very important for us that we have the entire financial system involved with the credit bureau. So that's another very important initiative that we took. I want to say as well that we have issued two very important standards. One is the technology risk standard, which is to respect to how we manage technology risks. One of the things we did last year was to issue a technology risk standard, which took effect from January 2023 to allow us to be able to guide our financial institutions with respect to cyber and related risk. And again, there's a lot of sensitization involved as well with the public. So there's a role for the regulator, there's a role for the banks, the licensees, there's also a role for customers. We've also issued a climate standard. The climate standard we issued for March of this year. And again, in the context of the climate risk that we've just been talking about, Hurricane Beryl, that is a very important standard. So our licensees can use to better understand the impact of climate on their loan portfolios, for example, and how they could mitigate that risk. Because as we always say, climate risk is financial risk. So again, I'm still on financial stability, but I'm trying to connect the dots. Correct. So that people can see the value that our work brings to this enterprise of financial stability and ultimately growth and long-term prosperity. One other thing I should speak of, and that is the ease of opening a bank account. This is very, very important. We've started work on this issue, and in the next few months, we expect to see people enjoy the benefit of finding it easier to open a bank account, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Young person out of school, somebody starting a business. Right now, it is unacceptably too difficult.
Yes, and the complaints have been coming.
Absolutely. We've heard them.
It's tedious.
We've heard them. I was very happy that you, on a previous podcast, you featured the chair of the working group, Nolan, with respect to what we're doing, because it's a joined up effort, a partnership between the banks, the licensees, and the ECCB. And I've asked them to come soon again and provide another update. So customers will feel that eventually, because that's a pain point that we've heard, and that's something we want to address.
I know another key area that we've been focusing on as a bank is digital transformation, because that, as you've outlined, is a pathway to innovation. Talk to us about some of the initiatives we are pursuing in that area.
So for us, it's a combination of infrastructure and also skills. We have invested and continue to invest in our youth with respect to digital skills. So whether that's our Bright Sparks program, which is an internship program we have here at the Central Bank for young, bright students coming out of A-levels, for example, state colleges who want to pursue a career in STEM, whether it's our SPICE scholarships, which we do in the summer to help students who are getting ready to get into an Ivy League university and need to have that preparation, STEM preparation, as well as the application to get in to pursue careers there. Whether it's what we started last year with the STEM camps, and now this year we will have the AI and the Python, generative AI and Python youth camps. And by the way, let me just say, our commitment is that for the next 5 years, we want to be able to, every summer, train at least 500 of our young people in the currency union in this very important area. That's where you're going to get your job, by the way, many of you. So those are areas that we focused on in terms of the digital side. And then there's the infrastructure, where we're looking completely at how we manage data in this region. So there's a whole project that we're working on now to create a data architecture, a warehouse for us to be, because AI cannot succeed without data. If you want to build a digital economy, we have to have data and we have to manage the data and effectively use the data. As someone said, I don't remember who now, data is the currency of the 21st century. So we are investing in digital transformation here at the bank in terms of what we do, but also in terms of the infrastructure for the currency union and the skills that our young people and our youth must have the ability to utilize if they're going to really seize these opportunities.
Another key area that's being pursued is improving payments in the system, making them more efficient, more effective, so that they make a meaningful impact to the people. Talk to us about how the ECCB is working to improve this area.
The first thing there is a modernization of the payments bill or law. We have an old law, it's 2008, we're in 2024. So we have prepared, and with the support of the World Bank, I will like to acknowledge that support. We have prepared a Modern Payment System and Services Act, or bill rather, it's an act after it's passed in Parliament, and regulations. And very soon, we will be asking our member countries to enact that legislation. So it's a modern legal framework. It recognizes all the recent developments in the payment space. It also provides opportunities for fintechs and startups which may want to pursue possibilities and opportunities in the currency union to do so within a regulatory environment that supports innovation but also has the appropriate safeguards. So that's important. I also want to briefly talk about Dcash, or central bank digital currency, which we launched in 2021. We closed the pilot at the end of January. I want to thank everyone who participated in the pilot. I know we ended it a bit abruptly. I apologize for that. But we have some very rich lessons from that pilot, which we are now studying. And in fact, we are in a period of consultation with you, banks, credit unions, agents, fintechs, other persons who have been interested in this area, sharing with you the lessons, taking your feedback as we consider a design for Dcash 2.0. And I want to be very clear, central bank digital currencies are becoming increasingly important, not less. So while we moved early and we were a pioneer, the first currency union to issue a CBDC through Dcash, many central banks are now pursuing that approach. So we expect to learn some very important lessons, and as we go back out to 2.0, to take those lessons with us. We expect to be able to address things like offline capability, how we onboard customers, how they integrate with our banks to ensure that it's painless. We have to remove the friction, when our customers interface and so on. So that is something that we are committed to continue to pursue. And again, I want to thank those of you who have shown interest, who have brought your comments. We have a lot of partners who want to partner with us on 2.0, but we have to finalize our approach, making sure that we meet your needs in that process. Because, as I say all the time, the payment system should work for all except illicit actors. And that's our commitment here from ECCB.
Governor, we definitely look forward to those innovations as they unfold. Now let's move to the bank's financial performance. That's a key part of the annual report. Now, for the 2023-2024 financial year, the ECCB has actually recorded a record-breaking profit to the tune of 80.2 million, and that's coming off of 2 consecutive years of losses. First off, discuss how was this profit achieved? When people hear that the bank has made a profit, they often wonder, how is it done?
Essentially, it's the returns from our investments. Much of the reserves, all of the reserves, are invested, and most of them in the US market, and we paid interest on those foreign income securities or foreign securities. We are in a period now where the US Central Bank, the Fed, has interest rates at 5.25, 5.5%. And as a consequence of which we are enjoying the benefits of those high interest rates. It must be acknowledged that in the years prior, the same Fed aggressively raised interest rates as they tried to deal with inflation in the US. And during that period of time, we suffered some losses because we are very conservative as a central bank. So when interest rates rise, our prices fall, and we immediately make that adjustment in our accounts. So we took some losses during that period of time. As we said then, we expected to bounce back, and this is a nice bounce back. And in fact, coming, in a sense, caps or Ruby anniversary or 40th year. So it's a great way to come back. And again, we don't get too high or too low about profits. There will be years when we make losses. There will be years when we make profits. Most years we will make a profit. But the years when we don't, we use our capital, our reserves to manage. And that's what we've done. Throughout the period when we were making losses, we did everything we wanted to do, or planned to do. In other words, we stayed the course on all of our strategic initiatives. We didn't cut back on anything because we built up the reserves to do that. And in good times, we saved something. And so now we are pressing forward with the mandates, the strategic plan, the initiatives that we've articulated there. But I do want to acknowledge the fact that we are enjoying a significant bounce back. And even in this new financial year, we're already seeing a very strong performance.
And the ECCB, of course, works for the governments and people of the region. That's our ultimate goal. What does this profit mean for them?
So we, first of all, ensure that the bank remains strong. Everybody needs a strong ECCB. We serve our 8 member countries. It's very important for them that ECCB remains strong. It's very important that we remain operationally independent. That is to say, we do not go to our governments for financial support. So by generating profits and by allocating them to reserves, we are able to be financially independent. It also means that in time, we can make financial contributions to our governments. And very importantly, to discharge the mandates, financial stability, payments modernization, financial inclusion, digital transformation and data transformation, the organization effect. All of those things need money. Correct. So we are very prudent with how we manage these resources. We have to be. And it allows us to serve, because that's what they are for, to serve our member governments. But you got to keep the central bank strong to be able to deliver, and to know that even in a challenging time, whether it was COVID, whether it's a year or two of losses, you can continue to do what you have to do for the people, that you can count on ECCB to do what we need to do for you. And that is why we manage the way we do.
Now, Governor, you touched on it a little bit, that the 2023-2024 financial year was particularly significant because we celebrated as ECCB 40 years of service to the region. As you look back and reflect, share with us some of your fondest memories from the past year.
Oh, Karina, there were a lot of good memories. We had a very ambitious calendar of events, starting from January all the way through, and I enjoyed all of them. The virtual museum was a very important one, and not just because it captured, documented, archived our history, but it made it accessible for people in the currency union and anywhere in the world. I'm always mindful of the fact that we are 8-country currency union. Not everybody can come to St. Kitts and Nevis or will come. But wherever you are in the world, you can access your central bank, our history, what we do for you, how we serve you. You can do research. And the virtual museum really is a legacy of that 40th anniversary, because it's something we can continue to go and draw from again and again. It's a wonderful reservoir. I thoroughly enjoyed the Youth Parliament. There's sometimes I've seen our young people express themselves. It gives me so much hope. It inspires me. We work for them. They tell us we inspire them, but they inspire us too. Seeing them so articulate, so passionate, so invested in their future was really, really inspiring. So again, if you don't remember, we supported an inaugural ECC Youth Parliament and Symposium. And that was in October. And that was a wonderful event. We had some great lectures in all of our countries. And again, that's on the record. It's on our YouTube channel, ECCB Connects. You can go back and check them out. The one on health was particularly important because health is such a big issue in the region, but they're all important. The global conference, having representation from around every continent of the globe was significant. People came to show respect and solidarity, but also to say thank you for the inspiration that ECCB has delivered to so many persons and institutions around the world, central banks large and small. So having all of them come, we really had a wonderful conference. They still rave about it. When I meet them on the circuit, they still tell me how much they enjoyed coming. That was really, really special. But I have to tell you, the launch of the $2 note with Sir Viv in December, that was something else.
How was it for you?
That was something else. It just brought together the greatness of this man, Sir Viv, but the greatness of ECCB, and how he's inspired us, and how we now try to inspire our generation. But to have that honor bestowed on Sir Viv while he's alive, and to see him receive it, and with the humility in which he did, was very, very touching. And then the comments that we've heard since then, and the awards, not one, not two, three. 3 awards for a $2 note that bears the image of Sir Viv and is the first note, that's a historicity here, the first note is historic without the image of the British monarch. That can never be forgotten. So I want to again thank our team, Deputy Governor who chaired the Planning Committee, every single person who served on the committee, the subcommittees, our partners around the region, and even beyond, who supported us during the 40th anniversary. It was an anniversary to remember, and we certainly will always remember it.
Governor, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and as we close, I invite any parting words that you have.
Just to say to the people of our currency union, we are absolutely committed to serving you. We get joy in serving you, even on the challenging days, and we've had some of those recently. And I want you to stay the course. One love.
Thanks for joining us for this special episode of ECCB Connects as we sat down to discuss the ECCB's performance over the 2023-2024 financial year with Governor Timothy N.J. Antoine. Governor Antoine also looked ahead and pledged that the ECCB will continue to work for the good of the people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Join us again next week for another program as we continue to share with you who we are, what we do, and how we serve you.